No, not that Child's Play. As much as I appreciate a good horror film, this is a show about television nostalgia. Ah, there we go. Child's Play was a unique game show that ran on CBS from 1982 to 1983. On this show, kids aged 5 to 9 would describe something that only the way a precocious child of that age would, and then contestants would guess about what they're talking about. As someone who tries to see the positive in almost everything, I thought it would be interesting to discuss one of my least favorite game shows of all time. Since I've never been one to back down from a challenge, here we go with the top 10 fun facts about Child's Play. Number 10. It was one of Bill Cullen's final hosting roles. Bill Cullen was a legendary game show host whose career began in 1939 as a radio DJ in Pittsburgh as a sports color commentator. Cullen transitioned from radio to television seamlessly, even with major mobility issues due to his childhood bout with polio. Being one of television's most respected personalities through the generations, he was easily selected to host this different style game show. Child's Play would be Bill Cullen's last full-time hosting duty for CBS. Cullen would eventually host Hot Potato on NBC and make other sporadic appearances, but for his longtime relationship with Mark Goodson Bill Todman Productions, this would be the finale of a 30-year collaboration. And speaking of which, number 9. It was the first Mark Goodson solo production. Bill Todman passed away in 1979, leaving Mark Goodson to continue his creations as a solo act. With the creation of Child's Play came the debut of the new title card and company name Mark Goodson Productions. Under this banner, Goodson produced other fondly remembered 80s game shows including the Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour, Classic Concentration, and Body Language. Most notably, the banner of Mark Goodson Productions was used on The Price is Right until 2007, 15 years after Mark Goodson's passing in 1992. Mark Goodson was certainly a legend in television who doesn't get nearly enough respect. Number 8. Possibly based on a segment from Ive Got a Secret. Could the idea of Child's Play come from a segment 15 years prior? It's very possible. According to an entry on the IMDb, it is possible that the idea of Child's Play came about from a 1967 episode of Ive Got a Secret where Woody Allen would read children's definitions of words for the panel to guess. It's also possible that this is just a coincidence and the ideas are completely separate, although it is worth noting that Bill Cullen was on that panel. Number 7. The show was plugged on Bob Barker's Price is Right. Bill Cullen was the host of the original Price is Right series from 1956 to 1965, but he did make one notable appearance on the modern version. Riding in on the Price is Right train, Bob Barker sat down with Cullen to discuss the premiere of Child's Play in 1982. This makes sense because Child's Play would air at 10:30 a.m. immediately preceding The Price is Right. This is also a big deal because Child's Play would be filling in one of the biggest gaps in the schedule that CBS had at that time because of the cancellation of another show just prior to that. Number 6. It replaced after almost 2 years. Was a pretty underrated show that, like Child's Play, lasted just about 1 calendar year. After the Tom Kennedy-helmed show was canceled in 1980, the time slot was replaced with reruns of the sitcom Alice. This lasted for almost 2 full years until Child's Play filled the 10:30 slot. Could you imagine anything today on network television being canceled and replaced by a sitcom for 2 full years? Then again, it seems like network TV is afraid to cancel much of anything these days. I'm looking at you, CBS. Number 5. The entire series is intact. This isn't too interesting, but it is worth noting that all episodes are available and easily accessible. The first notable throwback airing of Child's Play occurred on the Game Show Network. It's also currently available on the Fremantle-owned TV channel Buzzer. By this point, maintaining tape libraries was becoming much more commonplace and thus easier to archive these classic shows. Number 4. Several of the kids became stars as adults. Pardon the editorializing, but one of the main reasons I dislike Child's Play so much is that, again, in my opinion, it's exploitative. Children between the ages of 5 and 9 don't have any legal say in their decision making, and to turn them into a public figure so quickly in their lives is just irresponsible. It's not hard to see how many child stars struggled once they reach adulthood, so as a result, I'm not thrilled with the way that this show utilizes a kid's developmental stage as entertainment. Having said that, many of the kids on the show did later become notable film stars. For example, here's young Brecken. He later went on to star in one of my favorite movies, Rat Race, as well as many other outstanding roles in the 2000s. And here's the adorable Tara. Tara went on to such movies as The Big Lebowski, American Pie, and the Sharknado series, just to name a very few. And who would forget little Adam? One day he'll grow up to be a man, and every week that man will challenge food. As for many of the other kids, I hope they can at least look back at this time in their life as something that they just did was pretty cool. As I always say, we can't all be rock stars. Number 3. It was revived for Spanish language television. With Fremantle having the rights to the Mark Goodson catalog, a Spanish version for a Univision-owned channel was created in 2008. The game, which in Spanish translates to Give Me a Clue, was hosted by Alessandra Rosaldo. The game was to appeal to the Spanish language market in the United States. However, the show failed to capture an audience worse than the original version and was gone fairly quickly. But then again, number 2, international versions had varying degrees of success. This show was a tough sell, not just in the United States, but across the globe. Around a dozen versions were tried in different countries. For example, in Sweden, their version lasted somewhere in the ballpark of 15 years, whereas in Australia, it didn't even get through 1 year. Child's Play looked great on paper, but it simply didn't pull in the audience that CBS wanted to lead into The Price is Right. But what that did lead to, the number 1 fun fact about Child's Play, it was replaced by Press Your Luck. After the show's cancellation in 1983, CBS didn't air another 2 years of Alice reruns, but instead they would debut what would become one of the most popular game shows of all time, Press Your Luck. Press Your Luck needs absolutely no introduction and is easily one of the most beloved games of the last 40 years. From its criminally short run hosted by Peter Tomarkin, to its remake in the 2000s with Todd Newton, to the current version on ABC Primetime, Press Your Luck has delivered hours of quality entertainment and also many, many whammies. Needless to say, going from Child's Play to Press Your Luck was a major step in the right direction, which is a shame because Bill Cullen deserved a far better exit from CBS. And hey, if you thought my opinions about this show were wild, wait until I talk about Kids Say the Darndest Things. I might need to be really drunk for that one.